Mantra 7 of Ishopanishad. One who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks. One who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks in quality one with the Lord becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him? One who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks in quality one with the Lord becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him?
Except for the Madhyam Adhikari and Uttam Adhikari discussed above, no one can correctly see the spiritual position of a living being. The living entities are qualitatively one with the Supreme Lord, just as the sparks of a fire are qualitatively one with the fire. Yet sparks are not fire as far as quantity is concerned, for the quantity of heat and light present in the spark is not equal to that in fire. The Mahabhagavata, the great devotee, sees oneness in the sense that he sees everything as the energy of the Supreme Lord. Since there is no difference between the energy and the energetic, there is the sense of oneness. Although from the analytical point of view, heat and light are different from fire, there is no meaning to the word fire without heat and light. In synthesis, therefore, heat, light and fire are the same. In this mantra, the word ekatvam anupashyate indicates that one should see the unity of all living entities from the viewpoint of revealed scriptures. The individual sparks of the Supreme Force, the Lord, possesses almost 80% of the known qualities of the whole, but they are not quantitatively equal to the Supreme Lord. These qualities are present in minute quantity, for the living entity is but a minute part and parcel of the Supreme Whole. To use another analogy, the quantity of salt present in a drop is never comparable to the quantity of salt present in the complete ocean. But the salt present in the drop is qualitatively equal in chemical composition to all the salts present in the ocean. If the individual living entity, the living being, were equal to the Supreme Lord, both qualitatively and quantitatively, there would be no question of his being under the influence of the material energy. In the previous mantras, it has already been discussed that no living entity, not even the supreme demigod, can surpass the supreme being in any respect. Therefore, ekatvam does not mean that a living being is equal in all respects to the Supreme Lord. It does, however, indicate that in a broader sense, there is one interest, just as in a family, the interest of all members is one. Or in a nation, the national interest is one. Although there are many different individual citizens, since the living entities are all members of the same Supreme Family, their interest and that of the Supreme Being are non-different. Every living being is the son of the Supreme Being. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 7.5, all living creatures throughout the universe, including birds, reptiles, ants, aquatics, trees, and so on, are emanations of the marginal potency of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, all of them belong to the family of the Supreme Being. There is no clash of interest.
So what are the points here?
We are qualitatively one with the Lord, but quantitatively.
Anything else?
I was trying to explain the true meaning of ekatvam. It should not be confused with that we are all same as the God. We are part and parcel of the same God. So that's why I wanted to explain the qualitative nature and the quantity, differentiate between the quality and the quantity.
Could you just mention Ekatvam also means that we have one interest with the Lord.
Correct.
One
It's a very key point. Yeah. So qualitative oneness does not only mean that the Lord is Parabrahman and we are also Brahman, right? We are infinitesimal spirit souls who are part and parcels of the Lord. Mamaiva amsha jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. Right? So we are amshas of the Lord. So it not only talks about it from that metaphysical aspect, but from a very devotional aspect. Ekatvam means oneness with what? With the interest of the Lord. Which means real qualitative oneness will only come when we always act for the pleasure of Krishna. And unless our interests and motivations are aligned with the interests and the motivations of the Lord, we cannot attain that ekatvam. Then we will be doing something, apparently we will call it as devotional service, but it will not be devotional service. Right? So, real ekatvam means when in all our activities we do not have any ulterior motive. In any activity that we do not have any ulterior motive. So, this paragraph is bringing that out nicely. Ulterior motive will come only when our motive is different than the motive of the Lord. As long as our motive is aligned with the motive of the Lord, then that is not ulterior motive. How do we know the motive of the Lord? Through Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. So anytime that we want to do something and we are doubting whether am I doing it with real motives or not, sometimes we ourselves may not know why we are doing something. Okay? Why we are doing something, why we are saying something, why we are dealing with somebody in a particular way, we may not even understand. Till we take a step back and really question ourselves. Why am I doing this? What is my real interest? We may have some conversation with a devotee. Okay? But what is our real interest in having that conversation? We may be talking so many things. For example, let us say two people are talking about a third devotee. Right? So what is the ulterior motive in that conversation? That only we know. Okay? And that ulterior motive is either aligned with the interest of the Lord or it is not aligned with the interest of the Lord. If it is aligned with the interest of the Lord, it is called as a devotional conversation. If it is not aligned with the interest of the Lord, it cannot be called as a devotional conversation. So anything that we do, when we cook, why am I cooking? Am I really thinking about the Lord and cooking? Right? When I am preaching, why am I preaching? Am I preaching in the mood saying that okay, I am an instrument to spread Prabhupada's mission, or am I preaching so that preaching gives lot of respect and preaching gives lot of kind of credibility to all of us, and so therefore, and also a position as a leader or whatever. So in any activity, ekatvam will come not by the activity in itself. Ekatvam will come only when we really understand the motive or the mood in which we do the activity. It can be anything. It can be cooking, it can be cleaning, it can be just a conversation, as I said, another word. Right? So Prabhupada is bringing that out. The other thing obviously is that Prabhupada is again defeating Mayavad philosophy here. Prabhupada is saying that you cannot call anyone as God, or we cannot call everyone as God. Because what is the Mayavadi philosophy? That all of us are God. Only thing is that we have not realized it till now. Philosophy, everything looks very same. Right? Because of all our anarthas, because Maya has covered us with lust, anger, envy, greed, pride and illusion. Therefore we have forgotten that we are God. The moment we realize it, then you will find that you are only God. Then there is nothing more to realize. This is Mayavad philosophy. Right? So Prabhupada is saying that no. Qualitative oneness and quantitative oneness. So qualitatively we are one. Again, it is said that even in that qualitative oneness, it is said that we have only 80%. Yoga is writing here, no? Where does he write here? Somewhere is saying, no, we have only 80%. Can you read that?
Second paragraph.
Which is that?
Second
Can you read that?
The individual sparks of the supreme whole possess almost 80% of the known qualities of the whole.
Yeah. So it is not that we have 100% qualities of the Supreme Whole. For example, we cannot say I have a little bit of Leela Madhurya, minute quantities. Yeah, or I have some spark of Rupa Madhurya, in minute quantities. We cannot say that. We don't have all the potencies of the Lord. The last four are only, not even Lord Vishnu has it. It's only Lord Krishna. Even Brahma stops at 55. Anything else that is coming out?
There is just an example given here of like the citizens of a nation have one interest. So that's the example of, many times we hear in sports teams that we must play for the nation and not for individual. So it's kind of the same, the spirit in which we are playing in the game. So similarly for Krishna, how you mentioned, we serve in the spirit is important, not only the action.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay, let's read forward.
The spiritual entities are made for enjoyment, as stated in the Vedanta Sutra, Anandamaya Abhyasa. By nature and constitution, every living being, including the Supreme Lord, and each of his parts and parcels is meant for eternal enjoyment. The living beings who are engaged in the material tabernacle are constantly seeking enjoyment, but they are seeking it on the wrong platform. Apart from the material platform is the spiritual platform, where the Supreme Beings enjoy himself and his innumerable associates. On that platform, there is no trace of material qualities, and therefore that platform is called Nirguna. On the Nirguna platform, there is never a clash over the object of enjoyment. Here in the material world, there is always a clash between different individual beings because there is a proper center of enjoyment is bliss. The real center of enjoyment is the Supreme Lord, who is the center of the sublime and spiritual pastimes. We are all meant to join Him and enjoy life with one transcendental interest and without any clash. That is the highest platform of spiritual interest. And as soon as one realizes this perfect form of oneness, there can be no question of illusion, moha or lamentation, shoka.
Okay. What is the point here?
We're trying to enjoy the material platform. That's why there is no real enjoyment. And here we want to enjoy rather than thinking about Krishna's enjoyment.
You are in a preaching program, everyone is looking at you to explain this verse. What will you do? You smile.
On the Nirguna platform, there is never a clash over the object of enjoyment, and in the material world, there is always a clash in the object of the. There is always a clash in the object of the enjoyment.
Okay.
So there can be no enjoyment derived in the material world unless it is for the pleasure of serving Krishna.
So the material world is? Prabhupada said spiritual life is difficult, but spiritual happiness is difficult to attain. But material happiness is impossible. It's impossible to be happy in the material world. We always see, 1 week we are all smiling, another week it's there. That is how this material world is. It will beat you, it will give you some pleasures, and then as soon as you start enjoying, it will again hit you. Okay? Then you will become a little bit more serious in spiritual life. After that, little bit again will become lax because everything is going very well. Again, another hit, like that. So that is how it is, material world. So it is not, the nature of the material world. Devamrit Maharaj tells that the nature of the material world is that it is a machine which is designed to fail. It is designed like that. So we can't change the design of the material world. Even when the Lord is present on this planet, even then the material world is designed to frustrate only. We have seen that, no? It's not that when the Lord descended, everything was very hunky-dory in the material world. Right? In fact, because nothing is hunky-dory in the material world, the Lord descends. So only in the spiritual world, everything is, there is no duality. There is no misery in the spiritual world. But in the material world, even if the Lord comes here, incarnates, still misery will not go out of this material world because He Himself has designed misery in this world. So when you read the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, you will find that there is a section where Lord Krishna enters Dwarka, correct? So how does it open with? Who are the people who are there amongst the audience? The prostitutes are there. So somebody asked, how come there are prostitutes? Someone asked Prabhupada, how come there are prostitutes when Krishna's Leela is going on? Because Prabhupada said it is the material world. The material world will be the material world always. Right? So even when Lord appeared, in the material world, in the jail, in Devaki's womb, and then later on was taken to Vrindavan, even at that time there were miseries in the material world because Kamsa's rule was very tyrannical. So people were suffering under Kamsa. Right? All the saintly personalities were suffering. So that suffering is going to be there in the material world. So nothing is going to be hunky-dory in the material world. Only on the Nirguna platform, there is never a hindrance or a clash to enjoyment. Because everyone's... What is the Nirguna platform? Nirguna platform is? Yeah. So the point to understand here is, the material world will not give us eternal happiness. But it is possible for a devotee to be happy in the material world, a pure devotee. Because a pure devotee, in one sense, a pure devotee is beyond happiness and distress. So let me use the word correctly. A devotee can be unaffected in this material world, not necessarily happy. A devotee will be unimpacted by the dualities of happiness and distress in this material world. Okay. Only a pure devotee, not a mixed devotee. Okay. A mixed devotee will be, to the extent the devotee is mixed, he will have his share of happiness and distress. But for a pure devotee, a pure devotee is already in the Ekatvam consciousness. Because a pure devotee is only living in this material world to serve the interests of the Lord. Krishna Preshthaya Bhutali. Prabhupada came here only to serve the interest of the Lord. He had no other business in the material world. In fact, Prabhupada was asked, I didn't want to come here. Prabhupada, but I was asked to come. Like that. But no, you go ahead, do this. Nobody will want to come to the material world. People come, the acharyas come to the material world only to execute the mission of the Lord. Otherwise, the material world is designed to fail. Anything else?
The last line, it makes us realize that the perfect form of oneness will be a place where there won't be any illusion and there won't be any lamentation. So it's vital that we focus our attention on the pleasure of the Lord and not our own sense.
Right. So in all our services, if we only focus on the pleasure of the Lord, actually speaking, there cannot be any clashes between devotees. It is only when we want our mind also to be very happy in those services, that's when clashes come. When we do a service, that I want to do this, but this is happening, that is happening. All that happens only because we also try to seek our happiness along with the happiness of the Lord. But if purely the happiness, I know it's a very tough platform. I am also nowhere near that. It's not that I am saying this because I am there in that platform. No. For us, it's very important. We are also happy in Krishna's service. If we are not happy, then we sometimes don't feel like doing that service only. It says, "Inke saath kaun kaam karega?" Like that. Correct? Right? So because we are doing the service partly for the pleasure of the Lord, we cannot say we are doing the service with some pecuniary interest or self-interest for money or for fame or name. It's not necessarily like that. But But we are also not doing it purely for the pleasure of the Lord. If we do something purely for the pleasure of the Lord, it cannot happen that we are miserable in that service. It cannot happen. Why? Because yatha taror mula nishechanena. And it cannot also happen that somebody will have a problem with us because we are also serving with them. It cannot happen because yatha taror mula nishechana tripyanti skanda bhujopashaka. When you pour the water on the root of a tree, then it will automatically flow to all the branches. So when we serve Krishna in a pure interest, then everyone else is bound to be pleased with us. So when there are clashes, we have to understand that there is something wrong in my motive. Now my motive, when I say my motive, we usually see it in a very narrow way. We say, no Prabhu, my motive was that just I do that service, but then I got hurt because unnecessarily unhone aisa bol diya. मैं तो genuinely, and it may be true also, we went to that service genuinely. But the question is that how can someone hurt you without your sanction? Without our sanction, can someone hurt us? Without the sanction of our own mind, can someone hurt us? What tells us that you are hurt? The mind tells us. So and we are trying to serve the mind, saying, also you are hurt, huh? Okay, I'll do something about it. How, Prabhu, I don't know why you told like that. Then we'll go and clarify. Correct, no? Because it is our mind which tells you are hurt, my dear. You go and do something about it now. So if we tell the mind, I have served Krishna, I am very happy, mind, shut up. Then we will not go and confront anybody. When we don't go and confront anybody, they will be happy. And eventually Krishna will ensure that we are also happy. But we have to obviously pray to the Lord, saying that, Lord, I am going through this misery. But please, I want to serve you, and I promise you that I will maintain my desires always clear. My desires will always be to serve you, and I will keep a check on myself always. If we do this prayer and sincerely endeavor, He will help in that situation. Even for any anarthas that we have, okay, if we are struggling with any anartha, if we pray to the Lord, especially on, the days are very special. Now Gaur Purnima is coming. So if any of us are struggling with any anarthas, I am sure there are many, but at least take one anartha which we are struggling, okay, which we are really, really struggling with, and pray really, really hard to the Lord on His appearance day. Maybe Gaur Purnima, Nityanand Parayodashi. And the Lord can do miracles. He actually, if our prayer is like a cry, sincere cry, not just, oh Lord, please help me over this anartha, okay. Not like that. It has to really come from the heart, because that is what He is going to see. Really, are you praying very sincerely? Which means we should really feel that we are struggling with the anarthas. Sometimes we have anarthas, but we are very happy. Prabhu, I have a short temper. So मेरा अनर्था है, but मुझे अच्छा भी लगता है short temper, because that helps me dominate other devotees. Other devotees है, इसको पंगा मत लेना, इसका short temper है इसका, and that way we can dominate everyone, because we have a short temper, and devotees will not take. Nobody will come and tell us anything. Nobody will tell us any reformation, any area of improvement, because we have a short temper. Okay. So we may not even pray to the Lord that, Lord, please let me overcome. We may be afraid that if we really change, then devotees fayda uthayenge kya mera? So we have many motives. Our mind is very complex. So ekatvam means that our mind is completely, our own mind is not there at all. It is only the words of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Our interest is only one, to serve the Lord. If we have that, we cannot be impacted by the dualities of this material world. But we are impacted by the dualities of the material world because of not being aligned with our goal always in service is not the pleasure of the Lord. There are many other things we want around that, and that's why we become miserable in our services. It could be any service. Anything else? Avish Prabhu, last paragraph. Second last paragraph. The results. The result.
The results of our activities must be used to serve the interests of the world.
No, godless civilization. Sorry, my bad.
A godless civilization arises from illusion, and the result of such a civilization is lamentation. A godless civilization, such as that sponsored by the modern politician, is always full of anxieties because it may be crushed at any moment. That is the law of nature, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 7.14. No one but those who surrender at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord can surpass the stringent laws of nature. Thus, if we wish to get rid of all sorts of illusion and anxiety and create unity out of all diverse interests, we must bring God into all our activities.
So creating unity out of our diverse interests. Okay, of course, Prabhupada is writing in a very general context for non-devotees also. But that is common sense. I'm sure all of you understand that. But this is specifically within devotees also we may have diverse interests. Though we have a common philosophy and at a large level we may have a common interest to go back to Godhead and serve Krishna. But on a day-to-day transactional level, we may not have the same interest. In a particular circumstance, we may not have the same interest. Everyone may want something different out of that. Okay. So as long as, so Prabhupada writes here, a godless civilization is always full of anxieties because it may be crushed at any moment. So obviously when we read this statement, immediately we will think Prabhupada is talking about all the atheists in the world. Okay. But when we are also godless, when we don't keep God in the center of our activities. So if we start reading this like that, then it will make more sense as a devotee reading this. Otherwise we will think, acha book hai, preaching ke liye. For new people we will tell. It's not for, it depends on how we read it. So godlessness means absence of Krishna consciousness in any activity that we do. That is godlessness only. Okay, continue.
The results of our activities must be used to serve the interest of the Lord and not for any other purpose. Only by serving the Lord's interest can we perceive the Atma Bhuta, interest mentioned herein. The Atma Bhuta interest mentioned in this mantra and the Brahma Bhuta interest mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita 18.54 are one and the same. The Supreme Atma or Soul is the Lord Himself, and the minute Atma is the living entity. The Supreme Atma or Paramatma alone maintains all the individual minute beings, for the Supreme Lord wants to derive pleasure out of their affection. The Father extends Himself through His children and maintains them in order to derive pleasure. If the children obey the Father's will, family affairs will run smoothly with one interest and a pleasing atmosphere. The same situation is transcendently arranged in the absolute family of the Parabrahman, the Supreme Spirit.
Okay, what are the points here?
More about what is the purpose of activities and what do we do with the results of those activities. So if we only use it for our own enjoyment, then obviously all the problem starts. But if we focus on Atma Bhuta, Brahma Bhuta and keeping God in the center, then everything is pleasing. So I think nicely compared with our in today's context, like father and children and how they need to cooperate each other to be happy. And of course broadly Prabhupada saying Brahman, so and our Sabha is similar.
So even in an organization, I mentioned this before also, at the root of success of an organization is shared values. Right? So if the shared values in an organization are different, then everybody is working in a different interest. Okay? That's why even today, nowadays also, organizations are bringing in always the values things. Our values, our people. You remember it? We always
Living the values.
Living the values. Okay? Even organizations are talking about that because at the core of everything is shared values. So the shared values, if it is Krishna, then there is always harmony around anything that we do, any strategy. Like you remember I told you earlier about the McKinsey 7S model. Did I tell you about that? So McKinsey 7S model says what? At the core of the organization's success is shared values. From shared values comes strategy. From strategy comes structure. From structure, then so many things come. Skills, staffing, and so on, and systems. So many things are built around that. But the core of everything is shared values. So even when when we go for strategic consulting to a company, when these people go, then they will evaluate everything using this model. Okay, saying that what are your shared values? Is there some fundamental difference in the shared values? That's why what happens many times when person A is running the company, okay, where is some?
Got to get water for you.
Okay, no worries. So when person A is running the company, then the company is going in one direction. But when person B starts running the company, right, then completely there is a change in the policies itself. For example, quite a lot of HR policies in an organization that is where something is very clearly visible, the shared values, right? You will find that when person A is there, then person A's main focus is employee satisfaction, customer satisfaction, right? Right? Both are important. But for someone else, they may only value customer satisfaction more than employee satisfaction. So you may find that all policies and procedures, everything follows, the shared values which someone has in his mind. So you will find that when values change, everything changes, and even the systems are aligned then in the organization towards that. Something which was earlier auto approval will now require 3 levels of approval, because someone doesn't care about some. Not saying what is right, what is wrong. It's all circumstantial. Okay, I am talking business right now. But here, when the shared values are only to serve the Lord, then everybody who is a policy maker will make policies only in alignment with that particular shared value. That is called as ekatva. And Prabhupada says only when the whole world comes together on that shared value, that isavashyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena chakyana unjita mahagrita kasya surutma. That everything animate and inanimate is owned by the Lord. If everyone comes together and thinks like that, then most of the wars in this world can be avoided, because most of the war in this world is over oil. Everything is centered around oil. It is given the name of religion, but everything is centered around oil. Yesterday I was reading about in this context, I was googling around the 12, I didn't say 12, I said the most dangerous people on earth. I just googled like that to find out who are these. And then there are a lot of names that came. Who are amongst those? Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler, right? Saddam Hussein, Osama bin Laden, then
Kim Jong.
good, very good. How do you know that? He was there very much. So if you see all these personalities, and under that they have given what they worked for in their life, what it is that they wanted. If you go there to the website, it will tell you what is it that they wanted. So they worked for some cause, and because of that cause, they didn't hesitate to kill millions of people. In fact, one of them, it said they killed some crazy number, 30 million people. I can't even imagine killing that many people. It's beyond my comprehension, right? So it was like that. So that is just because of some value which they cherished in their life, and they spent their whole life living that value. It was a wrong value, of course, right? So values can completely destroy the whole world. Misalignment of values is the reason why there is conflict in the world. But everyone comes to the common value that everything animate and inanimate is owned by the Lord and everything should be used in His service, then automatically there will be harmony in this world. Which is not going to be, because this material world is designed to fail. Because Kali Yuga is meant to destabilize that shared value. It is meant to do that. So no amount of material arrangements can do that, can enable that to happen. If at all something, then only societies like ISKCON or any other genuine devotee devotional institution can bring about such changes. The church has to have pure values. We have to have pure, even within ISKCON, there is no guarantee that over a period of time shared values will remain, because what is said, Ratascha Anudinam Dharmam Satyam Shaucham Samadaya Kalena Balina Rajan Namishati Ayu Balapati. We don't know how it will be after many years, after 200 years, how ISKCON will be, we don't know at this point in time. ISKCON will be as strong as it is now, or even more stronger, if whatever Prabhupada's teachings continue to remain as the central shared value. If they don't, if they are diluted, then it's going to get, or if there are different, the Prabhupada's books are kept aside, and then some other books become the source of preaching in ISKCON, then somebody will say, you wrote a book, why I cannot write a book? I will also write. Then again the shared values is destroyed. Today ISKCON is together only because of the shared values are all coming from one single source, from the founder Acharya. So that is very important. And that is Ekatva. That's another aspect of Ekatva. Because what Prabhupada said is what Krishna said. Prabhupada said, I did not write my books. Krishna has stated. Good.
The Parabrahman is as much a person as the individual entities. Neither the Lord nor the living entities are impersonal. Such transcendental personalities are full of transcendental bliss, knowledge and life eternal. That is the real position of spiritual existence. And as soon as one is fully cognizant of this transcendental position, he at once surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Being Sri Krishna. But such a Mahatma or great soul is very rarely seen because such transcendental realization is achieved only after many births. Once it is attained, however, there is no longer any illusion or lamentation, or the miseries of material existence or birth and death, which are all experienced in our present life. That is the information we get from this mantra of Sri Ishwar.
So Prabhupada says, in Bhagavad Gita, therefore it is done, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Na Sochiti Nipati. Prabhupada is talking about the Brahma Bhuta platform here. Only when we attain such a platform, then there is no longer any illusion or lamentation. Only when we understand this principle, that our existence, the purpose of our existence is the pleasure of the Lord. And we have to question every activity that we do, that is it aligned towards giving pleasure of the Lord or is it not aligned towards giving pleasure of the Lord. If it is not aligned, then it is Shrama Evahi Kevalam, because there is no oneness then. Then there is duality. And then when there is duality, then we will be caught in the duality of the material world. So that is the import of this mantra. Any points here? Mantra 8. Such a person must factually know the greatest of all, the personality of Godhead, who is unembodied, omniscient, beyond reproach, without veins, pure and uncontaminated, the self-sufficient philosopher who has been fulfilling everyone's desire since time immemorial. Good verse to tell a new person in Krishna Consciousness. Go above the head. So who wants to read? Yes.
Here is a description of the transcendental and eternal form of the absolute personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord is not formless. He has his own transcendental form, which is not at all similar to the forms of the mundane world. The forms of the living entities in this world are embodied in material nature, and they work like any material machine. The anatomy of a material body must have a mechanical construction with veins and so forth. But the transcendental body of the Supreme Lord has nothing like veins. It is clearly stated here that he is unembodied, which means that there is no difference between his body and his soul. Nor is he forced to accept a body according to the laws of nature as we are. In materially conditioned life, the soul is different from the gross embodiment and subtle mind. For the Supreme Lord, however, there is never any such difference between him and his body and mind. He is the complete whole, and his mind, body and he himself are all one and the same.
What are the points here? You are in a preaching program, everyone is looking at you. Why everyone laughs when I say that? Actually, people are looking at you. Now you have to speak. What will you do? Okay, start. Otherwise, I'll ask you, I'll put you on the spot. Rima Mataji, preaching program mein baithe ho. Ye paragraph hai, boliye. People are looking at you. All of us are people. We all will look at you. Till you start speaking this verse. Your realization. कुछ नहीं समझ में आ रहा है इसमें. सच में कुछ नहीं समझ में आया क्या आया बोलिए. I want more participation in the class, not that everyone is just sitting and when you are participating, then you will start thinking.
description of the transcendental and eternal form of the Lord is explained, of the absolute personality of Godhead. And it is not as the same as what we think is the material description of the material entities. So it is beyond that, and the Lord's, there is no difference between the Lord's form and his mind and the body, and it has the same potency, and whereas that is not the same for material entities.
Prabhu here says human being we take body according to our karma, but for God it is above karma.
Bhagavad Gita in the verse this says that even though there is Ajopisan Avyatma Bhutanam Ishwaropisan Prakritimsam Adhishaya Sambhavame Atmamaya. So even though in the Lord Bhutanam Ishwaropisan of all the living entities, still the I appear in through the agency of my internal energy, Atmamaya. So that is the difference. Even though he is the Lord of all living entities.
We did this was Atma Maya. Okay. Bhakti Shastri, all of you will get certificate. Okay, we should don't forget Bhagavad Gita. Just because we are reading this. Keep revising. Whatever notes are there, keep revising. Whenever you get time. I know nobody will do it, but still I said. I know 100% you will not do it. I am looking at you only. Don't hide behind Madhavananda. I'll tell you, it will be, earthquake will come in Melbourne. If you go back and on your own you are revising, Bhagavad Gita, let me study the notes one day.
Prabhu, one day.
Correct? Every day you are doing. Explain that Atma Maya was. So please read. That is true for me also. I should also read. One of the reasons I want to teach is because it compels me to read. Okay, because Srimad Bhagavatam first canto I studied 10 years back. So in this lifetime, when will I read now? I have to teach and only I will read again. So it forces me to also read. This book I studied in 2003 or 2004 when I did my Bhakti Shastri. So obviously, over a passage of time, we'll forget information. So we have to go back and... So best is to preach. Then you will go back and read. Anything else here?
It's also emphasizes why Lord is eternal. Because his soul and body are same. Whereas for us, our body is different and soul is different. Therefore, we are not eternal. I mean, in terms of body. Whereas God's body is eternal always. Just like soul.
Yeah. We are also eternal, but our eternality stops the moment we identify with our body. So Chaitanya Charan Prabhu gave a nice class the other day. I don't know how many of you heard that. He said that our body can affect the way consciousness interacts with us. It was a very esoteric, technical narration by him. And obviously, Sir Chakra after some time. There are many confounded looking souls.
I think our consciousness affects because of it. Our consciousness gets affected because of it. Kshetra Vikari was saying. Chaitanya is the effect of Kshetra.
Chitta and Chitta. Yeah, Chitta. Chitta and Chitta. Okay. So I'll not go into that. I can't even go into that. Not out of humility. I don't have the ability to go into that. But still, okay, whatever little bit I understood is that our consciousness can be impacted by changes to our material body. There is an eternal consciousness and then there is a material consciousness. He is not talking about the eternal consciousness, it is Chit. He is talking about Chitta, which is a material consciousness. That consciousness is impacted by the body. That's why when we take LSD, he said that we can see illusions like that. So it is impacted, our body is impacted by whatever substances that we take in, our consciousness is impacted. We cannot say consciousness is pure, so I can go on drinking because consciousness anyway is, you can't, because it will get impacted. That is the nature of the consciousness. But Lord's consciousness is not like that, because Lord he is not impacted by he has got no duality of spiritual body and material body. It's only for us that we have this duality. Our Siddha Deha and our Deha, which is made of the Panchabhuta Mahattva. So it is not there for him. That is not applicable to him. Therefore, he is not vulnerable to he is not subordinate or subjugated by the material energy, whereas we are subjugated by the material energy. Our behavioral patterns have a correlation with the. He was talking about correlation and causality, like that. So there is for our behavior there could be a cause, and there could be a correlation also between what we do and what we have eaten. Right? There is a correlation there. But for the Lord there is no such, because there is no causality for the Lord, because He is Sarva Karana Karana. So that in gist, the body of the Lord is differentiated from the body of the living entity in this paragraph. We will read further. So who wants to read? Manoj, you want to?
In the Brahma Samhita 5.1, there is a similar description of the Supreme Lord. He is described there as Satchidananda Vigraha, which means that he is the eternal form fully representing the transcendental existence, knowledge and bliss. As such, he does not require a separate body or mind as we do in material existence. The Vedic literature clearly states that the Lord's transcendental body is completely different from ours. Thus, he is sometimes described as formless. This means that he has no form like ours and that he is devoid of the form we can conceive of. In the Brahma Samhita 5.32, it is further stated that with each and every part of his body, he can do the work of other senses. This means that the Lord can walk with his hands, accept things with his legs, see with his hands and feet, eat with his eyes, etc. In the Shruti mantras, it is also said that although the Lord has no hands and legs like ours, he has a different type of hands and legs by which he can accept all that we offer him and run faster than anyone. These points are confirmed in the 8th mantra through the use of words like Shukram, omnipotent.
What are the points?
First it says Lord doesn't have Lord is, although Lord is described as formless, it doesn't mean that he doesn't have any form, it only means that he doesn't have material form. So he is called Nirguna, but doesn't mean that he doesn't have any material form. And also in 5.3 the Brahma Samhita, Angani yasta sakalendriya vrittimanti. So that further corroborates that any part of his body can do everything, all other functions. So he is completely omnipotent and perfect and Satchidananda Vigraha, knowledge, attention.
Anything else?
Over here also, in both the paragraphs, Prabhupada mentions that the Lord is not different from his body is not different from his mind. So whatever Krishna thinks, he can execute. But in our case, we are different, our subtle and gross body. So there is that gap where we may desire, but it will not happen.
Right, good point. Anything else? How can that? So people get bewildered. The Lord can eat with his feet also. But I have seen that in railway stations, people who are physically challenged, I have seen them eating with their feet. If they can do it, why God cannot do it? We have seen that a peacock, how does a peacock reproduce? By their tears. So if tears can be a reproductive, eyes can be a reproductive organ for somebody, right? A fish breathes through So many animals breathe through their skin, not through their nose. When I went to aquarium a few days back, why did I go there? I went to Gold Coast. So I was remembering that example when I was seeing those. Because it was written, this animal breathes through this. And I just was thinking that, if this person can do, why Krishna cannot do that? Isn't it? So then that's how you have to convince. You can give these examples, research some animals and go. Because people cannot directly understand this philosophy. They will think that it's all phantasmagoria. Just some make-believe you are saying, that God can eat with his hands and eat with his eyes and all that. It's not possible. But then you can say material life, you can see these things. Even different animals do the same function, not in the way in which human beings do. Like that. Mother, you had a point? Sorry, somebody.
Even trees can drink from water from trees.
Who?
Trees.
Trees can drink water. Yeah. True. Good example. So like that, these are the ways in which we have to expertly give this philosophy to new people. Next. जोर से पढ़िए, नींद भी उड़ जाएगी, फ्रेश लगेगा बाद में एक्सप्लेन भी करना क्या है, अंडरस्टैंडिंग योगा इधर से बाहर आ जाए.
The Lord's worshipable form, Archa Vigraha, which is installed in the temples by authorized acharyas who have realized the Lord in terms of mantra 7, is non-different from the original form of the Lord. The Lord's original form is that of Sri Krishna, and Sri Krishna expands himself into an unlimited number of forms, such as Baladeva, Ram, Nrsimha and Varaha. All of these forms are one and the same personality of Godhead. Similarly, the Archa Vigraha worshipped in the temples is also an expanded form of the Lord. By worshipping the Archa Vigraha, one can at once approach the Lord, who accepts service of a devotee by his omnipotent energy. The Archa Vigraha of the Lord descends at the request of the Archa, the holy teachers, and works exactly in the original way of the Lord by virtue of the Lord's omnipotence. Foolish people who have no knowledge of the Ishopanishad or any other Shruti mantras consider the Archa Vigraha, which is worshipped by pure devotees, to be made of material elements. This form may be seen as material by the imperfect eyes of foolish people or Kanishta Adhikaris, but such people do not know that the Lord, being omnipotent and omniscient, can transform matter into spirit and spirit into matter as he desires.
What's the point?
Prasad is spiritual, because you can convert material to spiritual. So even the prasad is made of gross elements, so you can be spiritual because you can convert them.
The point of the Archa Vigraha form should not be confused with just as deity standing there without any potency. It is the potency is installed by the acharyas, and Krishna's potency resides in the Archa Vigraha form of the Lord. So he is non-different from Krishna himself, and that can be misunderstood by Kanishta Adhikaris, and then with knowledge, then only they will be able to understand this and how we explain to them. And
a person who considers deity as stone is actually not even on the Kanishta platform. Kanishta Adhikari accepts only the deities. But here we are talking about people who do not even accept that Lord will be in a deity.
Also emphasizes the importance of authority of Acharya. Deity is Lord himself because it is authorized by Acharya. Then whether we accept Acharya or not, that is the issue.
For a new person, how will you explain that?
So there is
For a new person, only Acharya is Acharya, you know about it. They will not accept, they will not know what the Acharya is. Huh? What is that? That is the only acharya that I knew. कौन सा?
खाना बनाने वाले
खाना बनाने वाले को भी आचार्य बोलते हैं. आचार्य. Okay. For a new person, acharya may not ring a bell. Okay, how do you explain to a new person?
For explaining authority, I think often we give analogy of paper.
Analogy of?
Analogy of a paper which is a note. Like
Yes.
$50.
Very good.
This is another.
Very good. Good example. Now, that's a good example. Solid example. Any note, a note which is authorized by a note, any note. In monopoly also there is a note, printed note. Okay, but that is not authorized by the government. When I say monopoly, I am talking about the game monopoly. What? He said that's like an authorized note becomes a $50. $50 is also a piece of paper at the end of the day, right? But it is authorized by the government, therefore it has got some value. Or a post box. Prabhupada gives the example of a post box. So we can use that example here. So when somebody asked, if God is everywhere, then why should we come to the temple? What is that? How do you counter that argument?
Why not?
If God is everywhere, why should I come to the temple?
God must be everywhere for his job.
Very good. God is in the temple also, then why don't you come to the temple? Because He is everywhere, He is in the temple also. So come to the temple. That's another way of explaining that.
Other simple example was that air is everywhere, but you have to feel, then put a fan.
Yes. To feel the Lord. But when you put a fan,
TV and radio is one of them.
to access, waves are everywhere. So many things you can explain. Okay, this was just to trigger your. This is what we want to do. We want to churn this topic. So you have to assume that you are sitting and people are looking at you. Otherwise, you will not start thinking. You will only be passively listening. Yeah.
I just elaborate on this last line. We understand he can convert matter into spirit. We have all seen that. And when he says convert spirit into matter, so how do we understand?
Converting spirit into matter. How do you understand? You tell me.
When a person grows, child grows, that's
Child grows means child is not growing, body is growing. It's only matter which is converting
when
into
the
matter.
spirit converting matter. How is the body growing? Because of the
Spirit is the cause of conversion of matter. That's what you are saying. Spirit being converted to matter. That's what is being asked.
Tatastha Shakti, we are the living entities, which is spiritual. But the moment we have kind of converted ourselves into material,
that's not spirit converted into matter.
They say end of the day everything is spiritual.
Okay. Huh? You are almost there to the right answer. Yeah.
Fact there is a material that means some spirit has been converted into material.
What? Some spirit क्या है? Last part of भक्ति शास्त्री में.
I'm saying that
कोई spirit को किया होगा मैटर ऐसा लग रहा है. What is it? Explain technically.
So even though is it that even though it's external energy, still at the end of the day the source is internal.
You are not connecting. You are not connecting.
The creation
Okay,
is
let me give you an example. At one corner, everything is Brahman. In one corner is the. That's all. Spirit is being converted into matter. Okay, so that's the explanation. Now everything is logical.
Yes.
That is the explanation. Okay.
So nobody, even Chaitanya Prabhu recently said in Bhagavatam, like 7.14, Krishna says, it's my Maya, and he says Daivim Prakriti. So it's like it's a spiritual energy, even though he is saying it's external. He's saying it's my spiritual and it's mine.
The source is internal.
Yeah.
Source is
Yeah. Of course, there is another way of looking at it also, which Chaitanya Prabhu was explaining in the last weeks because he was doing the Chatushloki, the second Chatushloki. Anyone remembers? Vittayaratam yat pratiyeta, na pratiyeta cha atmani. Tad vidya atmano mayam yatha bhasho yatha tamaha. Chaitanya Prabhu was lecturing on the same verse. Like that. So, anything is material only when we see it disconnected with Krishna. If we see this in its connection with Krishna, this actually becomes spiritual. It becomes spiritual. So that is why we have the concept of Tadiya. Tadiyanam Samarchanam. Narayana, what is that verse?
Narayana
Aradhanam Sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam Param Tasmat Parataram Devim Tadiyanam. Tadiyam is what? All paraphernalia, everything associated with the Lord is more worshipable than the Lord. Right? So therefore, even when Chaitanya Charan Prabhu was talking of, is currently talking about the Chand Kazi pastime. Why did Mahaprabhu get very, he says, how can you break the, I heard you broke the Mridanga, and then Nrsingadev came on his chest and you were tearing him apart, like that. Why? Because the Mridanga is everything that is spiritual, everything that is used in the service of the Lord is, who comes into that? Balramji comes into that. So everything is that. So that is another, that is, so anything is material only in it when we disconnect it from the Lord. Even our money, we are very careful. Even when people give Lakshmi, what do? We do something, right? In India by default, even if you give auto, like Boni is all. Something like that. So somewhere that culture is there of respecting Lakshmi because it is in connection to, because the moment India people see money, they connect it somewhere to Lakshmi. Even an uneducated person will, somewhere that connection is there. But in the Western countries that knowledge is not there at all. So then that doesn't come. So there is sanskar. It's coming from philosophy.
Even light, when you switch on the light, you can pray.
Even when you
switch on the lights, we pray.
They just
turn on the lights, we pray actually.
Okay, so we'll go further. Where did we stop? Okay, in the Bhagavad Gita. Who wants to read? Shabda Brahma.
In the Bhagavad Gita, 9.11 and 12, the Lord regulates
there's a lot of noise.
The Lord regulates the fallen condition of man with little knowledge, who deride him because he descends like a man into this world. Such poorly informed persons do not know the omnipotence of the Lord. Thus the Lord does not manifest himself in full to the mental speculators. He can be appreciated only in proportion to one's surrender to him. The fallen condition of the living entities is deemed entirely to forgetfulness of their relationship with God.
Okay, what is the point here? Yatha mam prapadyante tam satyam. Prabhupada says only we can understand the Lord only to the extent of his our surrender. Because the Lord cannot be understood. Lord cannot be understood unless he chooses to reveal himself to us. So therefore, only if we surrender will he, only when we please our spiritual master and then we get a recommendation from our spiritual master, will the Lord choose to reveal himself to us. When I say spiritual master, any Vaishnava, any pure devotee of the Lord, not only necessarily our Diksha Guru. Okay. If we please Vaishnavas by Vaishnava's prayers to the Lord, then the Lord will reveal himself to us. So only in that situation, only in that situation can we understand the Lord. Otherwise it is not possible.
We can also say that most of the other belief systems, apart from Vaishnavism, they stress on the omniscience and the omnipresence of the Lord, but they fall short when it comes to omnipotency because it can exist as a person.
True. Very good point.
When the person does not get the understanding of the Lord, then what we speak of deriving the Lord's deity form, the person will also derive the Lord himself when he says. So it's the knowledge of the difference.
Let's read further. Who wants to read? Pakada, name. Seriously, I was going to ask. He's very attentive.
As well as in many other Vedic mantras, it is clearly stated that the Lord has been supplying goods to the living entities from time immemorial. A living being desires something and the Lord supplies the object of the desire in proportion to any qualification. To one's qualifications. If a man wants to be a high court judge, he must require not only the necessary qualifications, but also the consent of the authority who can award the title of high court judge. The qualifications in themselves are insufficient for one to occupy the post. It must be awarded by some superior authority. Similarly, the Lord awards enjoyment to living entities in proportion to their qualifications, but good qualifications in themselves are not sufficient to enable one to receive awards. The mercy of the Lord is also required.
Yeah. This is the difference between who? Jnanis and bhaktas. Because in all other forms of yoga, then there is a high reliance on the efficiency or effectiveness with which you do the process. Because and when they attain something, they think that I have attained it by virtue of my own austerities. Whereas a devotee, for example, I heard one class recently. I don't know whether it was Gauranga Prabhu or Chaitanya Prabhu, but the speaker was saying that when we have some anartha which is disturbing us, few minutes back I told you that if we have any anartha, Prabhuji, take charge. Mataji is not able to. She's trying her best, but Mr. Electric, come back from the other door. Okay, what is the point?
You heard some class.
Huh? I forgot what I heard.
You said you heard some lecture.
We have some anarthas.
Yeah. So when we have some anarthas, then it's very, and we genuinely with a remorseful heart, with a heart full of remorse and shame, when we reveal that to the Lord, then the Lord will definitely help us, 100% He will help us overcome that, okay, in such a way that we will never have that anartha again, right? But after having overcome that anartha, if we become proud, then He can, in 1 second He can show us and we can fall down if we become proud, like that. But why did I tell this in relation to this? Yes. So therefore we have to understand that because of, sometimes we think because of our sincerity and endeavor we have been able to overcome some of our anarthas. But actually it is not like that. Our sincerity in itself is not a qualification. That is seen by the Lord and He has to bestow mercy on top of it. Then, does it make sense? Yes. Okay. So even when we overcome some anarthas, we don't boast about it. Saying that, I have overcome this, I don't have anything to do with money, I have enough. Many people say like that. Even in a program, somebody came and said, I am renounced. No, remember that day somebody came here, suddenly walked into the class. He said, how many of you are attached to the car? Only one person raised hand. The new person who walked into this classroom. Right? Okay? So maybe they are renounced. But even when devotees are renounced, usually what will happen? Nobody will say we are, because we never know when we get attached. Next. Kaun sa paragraph?
Ordinarily, the living being does not know what to ask from the Lord, nor which course to seek. When the living being comes to know his constitutional position, however, he asks to be accepted into the transcendental association of the Lord in the order to render transcendental loving service unto Him. Unfortunately, living beings under the influence of material nature ask for many other things, and they are described in Bhagavad Gita 2.1 as having divided or split intelligence. Spiritual intelligence is one, but mundane intelligence is diverse. In Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.31, it is stated that those who are captivated by the temporary beauties of the external energy forgot the real aim of life, which is to go back to Godhead. Forgetting this, one tries to adjust things by various plans and the program. But this is like chewing what has already been chewed. Nonetheless, the Lord is so kind that He allows the forgetful living entities to continue in this way without interference. Thus, this mantra of Sri Isopadesha uses the very appropriate word yatha tatha yatha. indicating that the Lord rewards the living entities just in pursuit of their desires. If a living being wants to go to hell, the Lord allows him to do so without interference, and he wants to go back home, back to Goddess, the Lord helps him.
So we have to be very careful what we desire, because the Lord fulfills our needs. That is the biggest problem. If we have material desires, if He fulfills, then actually it's easy for the Lord to fulfill our material desires. So we have to be even more careful, because when He fulfills our material desire, there is a great risk that we may forget Him. Yeah, anything else?
I was hearing one lecture of Guru Maharaj where he was saying when we ask for material desires, then Krishna sometimes gives that, but he gives the repercussion of that things also, so that we can understand how bad it is for us. Sometimes he does that also with the devotees.
Anything more? He expanded on it.
Like if we ask for something material things, if it is going to be not healthy for spiritual life, then he will make us go through that troublesome time, and then so that we can understand that actually we should not be attached to the material desires.
I'm sure many of you have that experience in your personal life. You desired something, then you realize, oh my God, why did I desire it? So the whole idea is the Lord will systematically work towards detaching us. Huh?
Someone was telling marriage.
We also do that for marriage.
That's not good.
Okay, don't bring household matters into it. But to settle it outside the class.
One each हो गया.
Huh?
One each हो गया.
One each हो गया. Okay, what are the points other than that?
Sarvasya Chakram God gives remembrance and forgetfulness.
Okay, let's go further. If no other points? So let's read further. Who wants to read? Yogeshwar, go ahead.
Only the Supreme Lord is self-sufficient.
That's why I asked you to read.
Gave me the wrong.
What's the cell phone app? I hope it's not a Samsung S7. It can't do anything wrong. It gives as it is. Okay.
So God is described here as Paripu, the greatest of all. No one is greater than or equal to Him. Only living beings are described here as beggars who ask things from the Lord. The Lord supplies the things the living entities desire. If the entities were equal to the Lord in potency, if they were omnipotent or omniscient, there would be no question of their begging from the Lord, even for so-called liberation. Real liberation means going back to God. Liberation as conceived by an impersonation is a myth, and begging for sense gratification has to continue eternally unless the beggar comes to his spiritual senses and realizes his constitutional nature.
Strong. Prabhupada Mayavadi ko bhikhari. Okay. What is the point here?
We are beggars. We are beggars and we should beg hard.
Yeah. Actually, it's a point. We are not beggars actually. If we are beggars, we will go back to Godhead. We are not beggars. Inattentive chanting is a sign that we are not beggars. Beggar will not say, "Dena hai to de do bhai." If you beg like that, बोले क्या नाटक है तेरा? Why I should give you? देना है तो दे दो. You give me or you don't give me. Yes. No. Suppose you beg like that in the railway station. If you are talking to someone and saying, "Who will give you arms like this?" Whereas if someone is looking into your eyes and saying, "Please, Amma," that fellow comes out, na? Renugunta station. Amma! Like that. Then when you see that person and you see, like that they will tell you. Correct? That old lady will look into your eyes and say, "मैं तेरे माँ जैसी हूँ, खाया नहीं है बहुत दिन से, दे दो." एकदम, even if your heart is hard-hearted, then what you will do? Like that. Correct? That is the way you have to chant to the Lord. Okay. Please, I am most fallen fellow, I am shameless, I don't have any taste, but I am your son. Please, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So we are not beggars, that is the problem. If we are beggars, we will go back to Godhead. We think we have everything, therefore we don't ask Him anything. When we don't ask Him anything, there is nothing for Him to give us. But we are begging other things. Cell phone, this, that, there we ask. One latest one. Take easy. But His love, He will not. He will, last thing, He will never give. Investment property, I like. So many properties I have seen. I prayed for this house. So many properties I saw. Tomorrow morning when Yogeshwar Govind Prabhu had gone, give me also Sadbuddhi and give him also Sadbuddhi. So that both of us go for the auction and bid. Right? Abhi wo ghar aa gaya. Okay. So like that. Sometimes if you get frustrated, you will go and say, "I want to end this or finish it." Then let me end this, because how many times you will go for auction? Sometimes you will get fed up. Not of that. It's not ये कुछ तो लेके अभी रहना है घर पे. Right? So we ask for so many things, but with the same intensity, we are not frustrated with the material energy. We don't beg to the Lord, "I'm frustrated, I want to come back to Godhead." We don't beg. We are doing lukewarm. So the hand is, mouth is chanting, mind is somewhere else. Right hand is chanting, left hand is doing something else. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Like that. So many things are multitasking. You know? Even we sometimes can, outwit Krishna also in our multitasking. He says, "No, in this hands, legs and everything, we can also do several things." When we are chanting, so many things are going on in our life. So we are not begging. Chanting means begging. The time to beg is Mangalarati, Brahma Muhurta. That is the time to beg. Otherwise we are not beggars. Beggar is a very high position. Actually, in some lecture also I heard. We wish that we have the mood of beggars when we beg for the holy name. We don't. And it is given free, still we don't accept it. That is the problem. They told me Jagannath Rath Yatra. The only thing which was sold free was watermelons and Mahamantra. Everything else had a $5 charge at least. Like that. So sometimes because it is free only, some people will not go. Moment, if it is $2 and then someone gives you free, then it's a muft mein tha ye tha, main khila raha hu, then you read. It's free, then it loses its. Even in Canada, when we used to do book distribution, I remember, we used to do book free of cost. You can't take money. Because if you take money, you will get hypothermia. It is not possible. Because you are standing in minus 40 degrees centigrade outside that station. Okay? And there is all snow everywhere. And then you are distributing books. So you have to have 2 layers of, gear. And then you remove the book and you give him. Where is the question of he taking out wallet? Not possible. So you give. I remember one man, when I gave him a book, he just went and he threw it in the dustbin. Then I had to go and pick it up from there again. Like that. So anything sometimes and then when I came to Melbourne, I realized never to give book for free. There we used to give free. Because it was not practically possible to take money under minus 40, who will remove wallet and give? You can't take out your hand also like that. And if you go inside the mall, they'll kick you out. Inside the mall it's very nice and cozy. But they'll throw you out of the mall. So like that. So we used to stand outside and so it's not possible. So anything given free, people will throw it. So at least we should take some donation for the Lord. The holy name is free, so therefore it is taken lightly. That is the problem. Where are we now? Only the Supreme Lord, okay. Who can read fast? Speed reading. Mataji, okay. Speed reading. Who is it? Kavya Mataji. Speed reading.
Only the Supreme Lord is self-sufficient. When Lord Krishna appeared on earth 5,000 years ago, he displayed his full manifestation as the personality of Godhead through his various activities. In his childhood, he killed many powerful demons such as Adhasura, Bakasura and Shaktatasura. And there was no question of his having acquired such power through any extraneous endeavor. He lifted Govardhan hill without ever practicing weightlifting. He danced with the gopis without social restriction and without reproach. Although the gopis approached him with the paramount feelings of love, the relationship between the gopis and Lord Krishna was worshipped even by Lord Chaitanya, who was a strict sannyasi and rigid follower of disciplinary regulations. To confirm that the Lord is always pure and uncontaminated, Sri Upanishad describes him as Shuddham and antiseptic and Apapavidham, prophylactic. He is antiseptic in the sense that even an impure thing can become purified just by touching him. The word prophylactic refers to the power of his association. As mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, a devotee may appear to be Sudurachara, not well behaved in the beginning, but he should be accepted as pure because he is on the right path. This is due to the prophylactic nature of the Lord's association. The Lord is also Apapavidham because sin cannot touch him. Even if he acts in a way that appears to be sinful, such actions are all good, for there is no question of his being affected by sin. Because in all circumstances, he is Shuddham, most purified. He is often compared to the sun. The sun extracts moisture from many untouchable places on the earth, yet it remains pure. In fact, it purifies obnoxious things by virtue of its sterilizing powers. If the sun, which is a material object, is so powerful, then we can hardly begin to imagine the purifying strength of the all-powerful Lord.
What are the points here?
Yes, you always give the example of Bombay station.
What is that?
As you always give the example of Bombay station.
Sion and Vatnava station. Even a blind man will know. And Bandra station.
When I read that verse, I remember that
Okay, good. That means that example is successful. I mean, it is not a material example. It reminds you of Krishna every time. Between going Sion and Vatnava. But once you must travel and experience. I don't know whether Abhi bhi aise hi hai. It never changes. Every day going to college was a nightmare. Okay. What else? So, Gauranga Prabhu was telling in one of the lectures I was hearing recently, because I am hearing the pastimes of Lord Krishna, 10th canto. So he was telling that in India it's very easy for people to accept Lord Ram. Lord Ramchandra Bhagwan, Krishna? Not sure. No? Why? Because people always accept God. People can understand usually God only from the platform of morality. They cannot understand beyond morality. Only a devotee can go beyond the platform of morality to the platform of spirituality. Right? Otherwise everyone can understand only from the point of view of mundane morality. Oh, he had 16,800 wives. That's not good. Polygamy. It's not 16,108. It's too much. Like that. Or how can he run around with other people's wives? Like that. They cannot understand. Because they put the platform of mundane morality and judge the Lord. So therefore, Lord Krishna specifically, because he is a supreme absolute truth, he can be only understood through devotional service. He can only be understood through the commentary of pure souls. And here Prabhupada is giving an example. Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, they were the strictest of sannyasis. Strictest. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Supreme Personality of Godhead, came as a perfect devotee. Still, the strictest of sannyasis, like Raghunath Das Goswami, so many Jiva Goswami, they were all attracted to the Rasa Leela pastimes of the Lord. What does it mean? That means that the Lord's pastimes are not material in nature. This is Prabhupada also writes this in Srimad Bhagavatam in response to a verse which says Krishna attracts everyone. Which is that verse? Akinchana verse. What is that? Not Akinchana verse. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's favorite verse. Atmaram verse. Now, is it Atmaram verse? Atmaramascha munayo nirgranta apyurukrame purvanti ahektukim bhaktim itham bhuta guno harihi. What is the translation? Can someone read? Which first canto? Can't remember. 9th chapter. 1:7:10. Very good. I like that speed. Okay. 1:7:10. Just read the translation of that verse.
It says all different varieties of Atmaramas, those who take pleasure in Atma or spirit self, especially those established on the path of self-realization, though freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotional service unto the personality of Godhead. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract everyone, including liberated souls.
The Lord can attract everyone. He didn't say Lord can attract everyone, including fallen souls. Usually we would have understood that, but Prabhupada says the Lord can, Bhagavatam says the Lord can attract even the liberated soul. Just imagine, even those souls who are completely free of sex desire, the Lord's Rasa Lila pastime still attracts them. Therefore, that pastime must not be material. So the Lord's pastimes are transcendental. So we understand that. Prabhupada ki